We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes. Men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
And now, Reality Rants with Jason Bermas.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Good morning, everybody. It is Reality Rants. I am Jason Bermas. RedVoiceMedia.com is where you find the second hour uncensored. And every day that you don't become a premium member, you should still be going over there to get the second hour where we have great interviews and we get to let loose a little bit more. And this is going to be a tough one because really, obviously, we're going to talk about Cosby, unfortunately, euthanasia, the growing trend of glamorizing it because we live in a post-truth world that is constantly inverting reality on behalf of this very anti-human, transhuman agenda. That's bare minimum. Bare minimum. That's what it is. You can argue other points, the finer points of it. Who's really in charge? What's pushing forward is something that will crush the very essence and spirit of humanity, and it's moving forward like a locomotive train, whether you realize it or not, whether you want to admit it to yourself or not, right now, today, and every day. And they got a new Davos coming up. I'm going to go off the list there and just let you know who's there. It looks like Christopher Wray's going to be going. Isn't that lovely? Our FBI, our CIA, our NSA have all been captured for a very long time. They don't believe in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights at the uppermost levels. You got guys like Pompeo, okay, when he had his big old belly Pompeo, not skinny guy Pompeo now who's grifting his way into some other political arena where he thinks he's going to become president. What a nightmare that would be. Mike Pompeo, Bilderberg boatman as president. I mean, if they could sell conservatives on that, guys, for all you conservatives that are watching me, please. I know there are these huge events out there that people are going to, that these people think that they're raging against the machine and they're fighting the deep state. That guy is the deep state. The dude. Okay? I want to make that very clear. Mike Pompeo, not your buddy. So, we're going to get into the euthanasia issue, but what I really want to do quickly, because I don't want to dwell on it because there's only so much celebritard culture that we can focus on. And, I led with Ellen yesterday, but they're a tool of the machine, right? They're part of the psychological warfare operation against you and I. Now, there are some people that play ball, like Ellen DeGeneres, and then there are others like Cosby, who you could argue, no matter what you think he did or didn't do, and we'll definitely get into that because I don't think Cosby's a saint at all. I think he's a big-time hypocrite, and I don't think every one of those women were lying. And really the only way that this all ended with Cosby not in jail after all that media push, and that's really what we're going to focus on, is that, these people took money beforehand and signed NDAs And a Supreme Court justice, I believe a state Supreme Court justice, flipped it and said, I don't even know how you guys brought this to trial. And I'm really hoping that, and this is kind of a weird twist, because I'm not in favor of Cosby, and and now he's talking about going on tour again, and he was on the Hello Friend tour. Hello Friend. I mean, the irony of Hollywood, who these people really are. Bare minimum, Cosby was over at the Playboy Mansion all the time, which now, praised by the mainstream and the left and the feminist movement for years and years and years about empowerment. That's kind of being turned on its head. Enough time has now passed since Hefner's death where people are talking about the darker side of that industry. No kidding. No kidding, there's a darker side to that industry. And Cosby was happy to take part in that. The Me Too movement was never really about bringing a bunch of people down into justice and to empower. It was limited hangout at best to manage the egregious behavior of so many of these people. And a lot of deals were cut behind the scenes. All right? But sometimes you just commit too many crimes, right? Harvey Weinstein, case in point. I was happy. This is one of those things Jason Bermas got wrong. I was happy to see the conviction of Harvey Weinstein for the crimes he's committed. And I'm happy to see him over on trial in L.A., and I hope they don't move. I think it might be in San Francisco. They're trying to move the venue. We've reported on that. Look, I'm happy that he's going down. But there's plenty of other people out there. You watch An Open Secret and you wonder how Bryan Singer's never been brought up on charges. Come on. Let alone found guilty. The open source evidence is tremendous against people like that. So then you actually delve into the Harvey Weinstein scandal, and especially when you talk about Rose McGowan. Okay, let's talk about Rose for a second. Again, Rose not perfect. Infamous star in the 90s, Scream fame, but really, really big in pop culture, not only because of her. Mean Girls was a big one. Was dating Marilyn Manson. Manson, another guy that has some pretty serious allegations brought against him by his ex, Evan Rachel Wood. We've been one of the few outlets that's talked about that. And I don't believe that's some kind of lie or vindication. I think that, again, there's the artist and the art, but unfortunately, the artist behind the scenes, sometimes even darker than the art that you see on stage. Or the art is on a total flip side, and you would never expect how dark they are behind the scenes. Cosby's really one of those guys. Talk about a dark side. I mean, this guy, bare minimum, thought he was entitled to sex with women, and absolutely, I mean, if you read the NDA documents, absolutely used the roof and all stuff. 100% did bad things, folks. Bill Cosby victims slam his plans to tour this year. If anybody deserves a comeback tour, it's the women he traumatized and abused. The disgraced comedian announced plans to tour again in 2023. He was released in 2021 despite claims he assaulted 45 women. And look, I think some of those claims were absolutely unjust and fraudulent, but I also think there are probably a slew of women that not only didn't come forward, but probably aren't even around anymore. Just the way the cookie crumbles, especially in that industry. All right? So you look at this. After spending 3 years in prison, Cosby was released on a technicality in 2021 when the Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruled the prosecutors in the case had violated his rights by rescinding on a promise not to charge him. He had it in writing. Okay? I want to put that out there. He had it in writing. So there is an appeals process, and I hope this happens with the Oath Keepers cases, and I don't have a lot of hope for the January 6th cases, guys. I want to make that extremely clear. It's not because I'm a negative Nancy. It's because I am following this. I'm seeing what the jury selection is going on right now. Seeing how they're treating the lawyers. Not a lot of hope for those guys. And especially the way the mainstream and the politicians have pushed this agenda. And you look at the Whitmer case, and when they failed the first time, they recharged a lot of these guys and got their convictions. You know, and a guy like Cosby, a really rich guy, okay, because it was a media push and a media agenda, went to jail for 3 years. Now, he got out on a technicality via the state Supreme Court, but is that gonna happen when these cases, number one, are in D.C.? I mean, I don't even know what a state Supreme Court looks like in D.C. because it's its own little district. Whether that happens, whether it automatically goes to the federal courts, no clue. If it goes to the federal courts, forget about it. It could be forever. It could be a case eventually that's heard. You're looking at some pretty dark moments there. But this is the world we live in. It's the media push, and that's going to decide the fate of these guys. And that's really what decided the fate of Cosby, was the media push, and that's why he spent 3 years in prison. It wasn't the cases in general. That's just the society we live in. Because, again, if we had justice in this country, Jeffrey Epstein wouldn't have got the deal that he got in Palm Beach. And then when they picked him up the second time, and in my eyes, the reason he was picked up is because there were people in New York that were just too pissed. Too much evidence. Can't believe it. Now's the time. They'd seen some other really dirty stuff go down. You know, they had a prosecutor, Berman, that was willing to go for it. I think he was the AG there. And they're like, let's go for it. And they can't even keep him alive in a prison that hadn't had a suicide in 13 years. Prison that hadn't had a suicide in 13 years before that. That's where they kept El Chapo. Hey, you pay attention to the news? And you know what? Let's do this one live. All right? Because I believe they got El Chapo's son again. Not the first time. I remember when the police had El Chapo's son. You don't do that. Literal war in the streets breaks out. And just random police officers are killed. I hate watching wartime videos, death videos. They really disturb me. I don't like them. I've seen some of the cartel videos from that segment. They're pretty disturbing and disgusting. So let's see. El Chapo's son, let's see, taken. I mean, can you imagine they actually, yeah, this is, so they took him into custody again. Let's see. Okay, Ovidio Guzman. I think, see, this is the second time they've done it. From what I was reading, they've halted the extradition now after 29 people. At least 29 people are dead. That's what happens when you take El Chapo's son, even though they got Chapo. And they're going to extradite him. 29 people. It's no joke, man. So again, for that operation to happen with Chapo, and to keep him in a place like that, where Chapo doesn't kill himself or nobody has access to him, and obviously there's no breakouts, and you know, people aren't getting killed in the streets. That's pretty. I mean, Metro's a serious place, but Epstein kills himself twice. Both times, no cameras. That's the justice system we have. That's the reality. And that's a microcosm for all of it. All right, and that's it's unbelievable. By the way, that should be all over the news, and I barely heard about that in any of the news. And I'm pretty wired in, right? Tucker kind of covering, you know, there's basically a civil war going on down in Mexico this week. I saw it there. Nowhere else. The second time they grabbed this guy, I'm telling you, the first time was no picnic, guys. Videos you'd never want to watch, man. I don't know why anybody would want to watch them. I don't know. It sucks. I can't imagine having to be a moderator on some of these social media sites. That's another dark aspect of social media no one wants to talk about. Is there are people that are so desensitized and crude. Now I get the news angle of it. I want to see the news stuff. I want to see what's going on in other countries. I need that. But there are some people that just post just terrible things all the time. Let's just say that. Like outside of the CP stuff that also needs to be regulated, which is another aspect of this. And then you got to sit there all day and decide whether this post or that post is traumatized forever. These people need psychological help afterwards, the things they've seen. No bueno. No bueno. So, let's talk. Let's wrap this Cosby thing up in a bow. Okay. It was never really a Me Too movement. Everything was limited hangout. It was used to cancel certain people of certain persuasions when a lot of these people had done questionable things. I remember at one point they're going after like Scott Baio because he's a conservative voice. I mean, that's chump change, right? But it was ammo to go after almost anybody. And with taking out Weinstein, who had the Clinton relationship, who had the Epstein relationship, that's letting people know, hey, we'll burn you. Shut your mouth. We will burn your ass. And for all the people that like to take it a step further and go after the minors, okay, at the same time, this is where Corey Feldman's movement is going further and further. A lot of people were disappointed with the film that he put out. I wasn't. And let me tell you why. Because there was some crossover there between An Open Secret and the Corey Feldman film, and him talking about how it was in the industry, period. That's one. And then two, he actually outed Charlie Sheen, and I kind of had a feeling it was going to be Sheen because there had been a couple articles out there. I believe the Daily Mail was one of the few that picked it up, that apparently, Sheen had raped Corey Haim on the set of Lucas. Now, I've met Charlie personally a few times. Always very nice to me. It was before all the Tiger Blood stuff. I remember when the Tiger Blood stuff happened on Alex Jones, and he was on the phone with Lenny Dykstra, really dark stuff. Some of the stuff that's been filed in the divorce papers with Denise Richard, very dark stuff. You want to think the best of people. But I know Hollywood's a dark place. Okay, there's some other things and allegations that even Lenny has said about him later on that are the darkest of the dark. And if you can see a guy like that, okay, and I don't really know the guy. We watched Loose Change in his theater, and he gave me some popcorn, and he did help put on that 9/11 conference. That coincidentally, now that I think about it, was just really weird. It was in the same building as like the porn conference. That's where I was in an elevator with like Jenna Jameson's husband or ex-husband at the time. I forget whether like the first or the fourth. Obviously not Tito Ortiz. I would have known that, but that was way before her and Tito. Ron Jeremy, who's got all sorts of sexual assault allegations, and a judge is saying he's unfit mentally to, I think, be prosecuted in a lot of these cases. I have no idea what's going on. He doesn't look good in the courtroom, but that's another case, of Holly Weird. And there's a guy that really kind of crossed over into the mainstream because of his look and just taken any Hollywood gig he could, right? On top of everything. Talk about a weird culture, man. I don't even know how we got into Ron Jeremy, because we got into Charlie Sheen. And honestly, you know what? But I'll tell you what, that conference, I'll never forget it, because that's the first time that I sat down with a Hollywood producer that was there. And by the way, it's on C-SPAN. Anybody can go check it out. It's just prior to the 5th anniversary of 9/11, how time flies. And at the very, very end of it, when they let people speak at the end, I speak as well, trying to rally people to New York City for the 5th anniversary. That's where I sat down with a Hollywood producer, and they, at the time, told me that, when I asked them, told me about Bryan Singer and how he'd been to a party where basically Bryan Singer had this 14-year-old topless boy on like a dog leash at a party, just rolling around with him. And this is before anything had come out about Singer. And I'm just like, oh, well, okay. Oh, I mean, at the time, it felt like a gut punch because you don't want to hear that about people. Years later, I didn't want to hear that about Sheen. We got to be adults. Santa Claus isn't real. The Tooth Fairy's not a-coming. Okay? There's no hibbity-hobbity Easter Bunny. We've got to be adults. We got to know what we're dealing with. That if on that level, those people can get away with that, what do the billionaires get away with? What is the generational wealth that helps set policy get away with? Well, in a lot of cases, we end up finding out years and years later. We find out the FBI knows that Lord Mountbatten, a quote unquote, is a homosexual with a perversion for young boys. That's how it was phrased those years ago. In fact, let's type it in. And this guy was elevated after this. Nothing was done about it. Lord Mountbatten, homosexual with a perversion for young boys. You know, I have a pretty good memory. I'm sorry, with a lust for, not perversion. See, I get them wrong. I'm not perfect. By the way, can we get 100 thumbs up? Only 150 people watching this morning. We'll be going exclusive at the top of the hour. I have a ton of videos that I want to go through, but I've got to kind of curate them for YouTube. And then on the other side, we're going to get really into the DARPA Moderna 1984 connection, and like all that stuff, as well as brain chips, telehealth, building monitoring systems for all this, all part of the fourth industrial revolution, run by people, okay, that literally 75 years later, we get to find out in 2019, 75 years later. Isn't that nice of us? That's how much these guys get protected. Prince Charles' uncle and valued mentor, Lord Mountbatten, was a homosexual with a perversion for young boys, according to a secret dossier compiled by the FBI. The intelligence files described the first Earl Mountbatten of Burma and his wife Edwina as persons of extremely low morals who frequently had extramarital affairs. One source said Mountbatten's penchant for young men made him an unfit man to direct any sort of military operation. He was eventually assassinated by the IRA on his boat with one of his boat boys, by the way. I think like a 16-year-old. There he is. Now, again, you take a look at someone like this, especially back in the day. He's in a nice suit. He's got a cane. It's camouflage. And there he is. I've got a top hat. Yes, Charles. Yeah, there he is again. And he's put in charge of more commands, okay? It is not known why agents began compiling the dossier, but the FBI has long been known to keep compromising material on high-profile figures, most famously Martin Luther King, but many others. This brings us all the way back to the FBI. Okay, this is, and that's, I think, what's happening with Biden right now. They're getting ready to burn him. They don't want to admit he's mentally incompetent, but they don't want him to run for another 4 years. They don't want him to go kaput right live on television. And he's already saying just the most over-the-top things like, once again, we're in a post-truth world, okay? And by the way, I got a clip. When I say we're in a post-truth world, I don't take it lightly. I mean it. It's the real deal. Is this right here? Yes. This guy right here, where is it? Jared Cohen under Eric Schmidt. Now, Eric Schmidt, he's the Google man, Alphabet, ex-CEO, likes to go to Burning Man, Bilderberg steering member. Co-authored with Jared Cohen, another big player in what? The Berg. And I guess that's a second clip we can go to pretty quick. And this is my boys over at We Are Change. And it is this very meeting where they're discussing the post-truth world. And when you read this, okay, the new digital age, reshaping the future of people, nations, and businesses. And this is 2013. This is almost a decade old now. They're laying out the blueprints for what they're going to do and bragging about it. It's the problem, reaction, solution stuff. They're telling you they're creating a post-truth world while what? Saying guys like me are misinformation or disinformation. And when you can't label me that because I back up everything I'm saying, right? I source everything I'm saying. I don't just make stuff up about Lord Mountbatten. Then it's malinformation. Oh, you're hurting the state. High-level FBI are gangsters. You see and they work for the other part of the gangsters, the other people in the suits. All right? It's not like an Italian thing. And it's so funny. You can talk about like every spectrum of gangster, but then you get to a certain level or a certain ethnicity, and you can't act like they have gangsters too. Like everybody knows the Yakuza exists. Miller's Crossing is one of my favorite gangster movies of all time. Coen Brothers movie. John Turturro, a really eerie character. Film sticks with me to this day. A lot of people talk about other Coen Brothers movies. If you've never seen Miller's Crossing, something about that film and human nature and the fact that it's about Irish gangsters in many cases, right? Like that's the running line. Great movie. Great movie. So this is Jared Cohen arriving at Bilderberg 2018, and this is We Are Change getting it done. I think this was out in the Netherlands. Okay? Now, they do a nice dicka-dicka-do thing, showing you Jared Cohen here. There he is with the Condi. That's Richard Holbrooke. You know, there's Eric Schmidt, the guy he wrote the book with. Isn't that nice? There they are, the new digital age, holding the book. Isn't that great? And again, Google does so many things. Here it is right here. And, nothing special. But they come up in their nice little car. They got their driver. They usually have security. You know, this is where what's discussed? The post-truth world. This is the spot. Palm trees. Hey, everybody. Let's talk about the post-truth world. That's what we're doing. All right. I know we ranted for a while. It is Reality Rants. And we get going. We get moving. We get off of the subject. Post-truth world is that you should kill yourself. I wish I was making this up. Now, before I go over two separate stories, that should alarm everybody, okay? I want to take you through where I'm coming from on assisted suicide and euthanasia and quality of life and the whole thing. Okay? First of all, when I was a kid and you saw Jack Kevorkian, the way it was portrayed is you had these people that were just in pain all the time. And all they want to do is die. Right? That's it. And Kevorkian is presented as this angel. And later, he gets the moniker Angel of Death. And, there's something off about Kevorkian, but he's presented in such a way that you're like, okay, you kind of get behind it. Then you find out that Jack Kevorkian, and they actually made a film, I think Pacino played him. You don't know Jack. I haven't watched the film. Now, let me say that. But let's just type in Jack Kevorkian paintings. And the reason I'm going to Kevorkian is because he really started the awareness and the movement all the way back, I want to say in the late 80s, maybe early 90s is where you saw it. Okay? So, beheadings and Apple. There he is. There's Jack right there. Very happy about his work. Hey, I'm Jack Kevorkian. You've got the lovely bunnies, Easter bunnies, cracking open the Easter egg, pulling on what appears to be a Jesus character with a halo, praying. Nice little demon bunnies. You got Scratchy McGee here falling down a hole. The Mustachioed demon. That's nice, isn't it? Let's get to which one's this? I want the Skull of Death. That's always a lovely one. That looks like a perhaps a self-portrait, actually, of himself. I'm not sure if that's actually one of Jack's right here. Now we're getting into some things. But, like, seriously, is that Jack Kevorkian? That looks like it could be a Kevorkian. You know? It's very possible. So anyway, let's just say that Kevorkian did some compelling art, if you will. You know, a lot of death stuff. What's this one right here? Is this all Kevorkian right here? Yeah, so here's another one talking about like a weird tin man on top of it. So is that also you know what? Let's not do too much. I know this one is a Kevorkian. I've seen a lot of them. And plenty of Kevorkian to look at. Okay? So you find that out, and you're like, all right, that's a little disturbing. But at the time, I'm still thinking there aren't really people that believe in the devil, or, you know, there's nobody in power that practices Satanism, and there's no power in the occult. There's certainly not an owl god in the woods with a bunch of supposed Christian conservatives meeting, right? They certainly didn't hatch the Manhattan Project there, and nuclear warfare, right? That couldn't be. Oh, okay, so it's a little darker than that. And then, over the years, not only has it been glamorized, but then it ends up being what? Institutionalized. That's where it gets really bizarre to me. I'm like, wow, now we're not saying, okay, it's time for you to, you know, make a decision, and if you want to do it on your own, great. Right? Well, we'll figure it out. Now it's being normalized, and there's commercials about it. And we're going to go to one former Obama official, and I remember him talking about this years ago. He's like, I want to die at 75. I'm talking about him. And then this woman out in Canada that just can't wait to kill people. That's the best way I can tell you. Now, I want people to understand, there have been nurses that just randomly killed patients in hospitals. Got away with it for a long time. In fact, we'll do it live. Nurse convicted of purposely killing patients. Convicted of killing patients. All right. The good nurse. Okay. Is this something different than right here? Because we've got this is the one I was talking. Over the next decade, Kellon jumped from hospital to hospital, killing patients wherever he went. In September 2002, he started working at Somerset Medical Center, where he went on a year-long killing spree and left at least 13 patients dead. So they think that this person killed up to 400? My God. That person right there. I mean, there's some sick people out. You can't judge other people, okay, by what you would do. We're not talking about, first of all, hospital is probably one of the least safe places to be unless you're there for trauma. The amount of medical malpractice that costs people their lives inside of a hospital, it's one of the leading causes of death in this country. But then, okay, I mean, this is another person. Another person. Texas nurse guilty of killing patients by injecting them with air. William Davis, 37, was convicted of capital murder by a jury on Tuesday. Come on, pop up. And now could face the death penalty. All right? You understand? The men aged between 47 and 74 experienced seizure-like symptoms and died from fatal brain damage after the air was injected into them. So, not like an anomaly, abnormal, call it what you want, but not really isolated. Some people in the medical field enjoy killing people. Maybe enjoy a little torture. That's aside from the people that are just in it for the money and they're going to take the scratch. Right? Plenty of those people too. But you got literal psychopaths and serial killers in there. Okay? But since everything is about Mother Gaia and instituting new religions and getting rid of God and telling you you're, a manimal, right? You're toxic. We got to take control of the human species. Got to regulate everything. Got to regulate the carbon for Mother Earth. They've been selling you on this idea it's the best thing since breakfast. Now, I want you to also think about this. When I was a kid, all that was talked about is modern medicine is a marvel. We're going to cure cancer. Cancer shot through the roof. Total inversion. Total opposite of what was supposed to happen. We're going to live so much longer. No, we're not. In fact, I would say this. As a kid, I'm 43, when growing up in the 80s and 90s, you kind of had this expectation that easily, you're going to coast into like 80. And then from 80, if you could make it to 100, wow, good for you. But you're going to coast into that. You had a high life expectancy. That was going to be no problem. And with technology, who knows? Maybe you'd live more than 100. And right now there is a lot of open technology out there that is youth driven. I mean, you look at somebody like Stallone, right? Stallone's got his own TV show at like 75, right? How old is Stallone? He's on all sorts of rich guy drugs, the testosterone, the HGH. I'm sure he's doing the stem cells. He's doing everything. Let's see. Stallone. You don't have to type in anything else. That's Sylvester. 76 years old. Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of Botox in there. But he's 76 years old. Jack LaLanne was in great shape at 76. Jack LaLanne, I believe, did live to be over 100. But this guy's doing entertainment and movies. And I remember there was this period in his, I think, transition into his 50s, right? Where he wasn't big and he was doing straight to DVD movies, et cetera, before the big comebacks with the Expendables and Rocky and all those other things. And he talked about, hey, I'm getting older. I'm going to have to take, other roles and slow it down. Not so much. So that technology, in a sense, has definitely improved the quality of life of somebody like that that's willing to do the work. But is it going to bring him to 100? I doubt it. Maybe. You had Mel Gibson's father lived to well over 100. I think it was like 103 or 4 when he went. And Gibson's on the same kind of drugs and path as Sylvester Stallone. Just throwing it out there. I mean, that's the reality. But that's not for most of us. And again, it's not really an extension. And that's why transhumanism is two different things. You got Jared Kushner out there talking about how his generation will be the first to live forever, the last to die. When he says that, he means like the bourgeois that he hangs out with, the other billionaire crew. While the rest of us take transhumanism, where we assimilate into a slave system of the Internet of Bodies, which we're really going to focus on today. Like that's going to be, that was supposed to be the main meat and potatoes of the broadcast. Certainly will be once we go over to the other side. Because I've got this clip of the dude that does the Valuetainment podcast, Patrick Bet, whatever, I forget what his last name, Patrick Bet David, and just owning Neil deGrasse Tyson. And I want to expose Neil deGrasse Tyson for the type of fraud he is. And he's a fraud. I can't play that here because I'll probably get a strike for it. Also have a clip of Thomas Massey talking about wanting to end all the mandates out there. And there's still a lot of mandates. I just want to say that. Probably can't play that here. I also want to play the psychological warfare campaign that your cousin from Boston, Hate and Lie, shot video, along with some Sesame Street, some DARPA, and Tuxter with Glenn Beck. I think that's important. Some Yoval, we got that going on. Some Gates Germ Team, Fourth Industrial Revolution stuff. And then you have monitoring systems, right? We've been playing some of that stuff. But a couple of new Internet of Bodies videos as well. Maybe we will play those on this end. And maybe we'll play Jason Whitlock talking about how this is really satanic. And it is. And I'm not coming at that from, go to church and, pray to Jesus Christmas. Or you can do those things. I'm not here to tell you that those are bad things. But what Satanism really is, whether you believe it or not, and by the way, SatanCon, I forgot to go over this one yesterday. Let's find SatanCon. Where are you? Oh, nope, not there. See what we got here. No, I want to do that one too. Here, the SatanCon 2023 is dedicated to Boston Mayor Michelle Wu after Satanic Temple was barred from delivering invocation at City Hall. Largest satanic gathering in history, will feature rituals, marriages, and discussion panels. Now look, here's my thing. I'm all about free speech. They should be allowed to be around. I want people to show themselves. There's a really great documentary out there called Hail Satan on these guys. And at first you're almost sympathetic that this is all like a troll thing. These are the people, like that's the Baphomet statue with the children below. Yeah, this one right here. Hey, look, it's the good old Baphomet. Yay, fantastic. Just whatever. They should be allowed to exist. But then, as the movie progresses, you see them doing these weird, dark rituals. They end up kicking one woman out because she basically calls for violence against a political figure, which they should have done. But then what really turned my stomach was the fact that these guys had little satanic coloring books they were trying to give to children in a school, in a library. That's not fun and games to me. I don't like that. And you could say what you will. That shows me there's a lot more to it than a troll and the ritual stuff. Then you start really getting to look at it and you're like, okay, weird, not for me. That this is the inversion of reality. They're going after children. Hail Satan, go watch it. So here's a Whitlock and Tuk Tuk clip where they talk about this. And to me, again, this isn't just the left. All right. I think a lot of people on the left have been fooled because a lot of people on the left have become militarily anti-God, right? Militarily evolutionary. And in turn, they accept like this sliding scale of morality that's based in social Darwinism, and they're trained to do so, whether they realize it or not. And I'm not saying you have to believe a certain thing or be a part of a certain religion to have a good sense of morals. Don't get it twisted. Just saying that a lot of those people have been manipulated, and it is part of this post-truth world agenda. So let's play this. This is Whitlock talking about the satanic nature of reality. It's about, I don't know, it could be 5-6 months old at this point.
And destroying this country.
What do you think? I've always wondered this. Like, what is the actual support for the ideas? Not, do you like Trump or Biden? But, for example, do you think men can get pregnant? Or do you think some races are morally superior to other races? Like, the core idea is the Democratic Party. How many Americans actually believe that stuff, would you guess?
I don't think 5% of America believes it, maybe 10%.
Yeah.
I don't know. Tucker, I'm going to say something that's difficult to unpack in this short amount of time, but it's what I truly believe. I think a lot of what the left supports is satanic. I'm just sorry. It's in direct objection to God and in direct objection to the Judeo-Christian values that were at the foundation of this country. And those Christian values are why we made so much progress in terms of freedom and humanity and the way we treat everybody. Yes, it was hard, but our Christian values compelled us to sacrifice our lives for the freedoms of other Americans, of slaves. And through the civil rights movement, our Christian values compelled us to take risks and fight for equality and the equality of opportunity for everybody. I see a lot of what's going on here I'm just sorry. I'm a man of faith. I was raised in the church. This stuff is satanic. That's what's at the foundation of a lot of this stuff.
Well, I'm a pretty mild Protestant personally, but I completely agree with you, especially the gender stuff. When you say you can change your own gender by wishing it, you're saying you're God.
Well, I'll tell you right now, again, it's part of a transhuman agenda. And by the way, Baphomet is that androgynous being. I'm actually I'm kind of surprised that this version of the Baphomet statue doesn't have the mini breasts, and they've cloaked the what is I believe could be maybe female genitalia. I'm not quite sure. I think the point was really to bring it home. Man, I was watching more of that NASA stuff, and they were doing this presentation, and you look at the pentagram, and out of nowhere in the presentation, they slipped in this pentagram, and I'll probably find it again. It was like, again, this is a 5-hour thing, but it's pretty wild, the symbolism that our government agencies have. But again, Satanism to me, again, is the inversion of reality. It is the post-truth world that we live in. So let's just wrap this up.
And that is satanic. I completely agree. Anyway, Jason Whitlock,
Tucker,
one of the few people who will say something like that on TV, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Tucker.
Thank you, Tucker. The Tuckins, everybody. Old Tuckins. So there's another story. Although we really didn't hit this enough. Let's hit this guy. I showed it quick. Why I'm ready to die at 75. The White House oncologist and Obamacare architect 65 who will refuse all medical treatment, even antibiotics, in 10 years. Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel says that he will refuse all medication when he turns 75. I'm just going to die. I'm a burden on society. And a lot of people will say, hey, at least he's walking the walk, Jason. By the way, we got 200 plus watching. Can we get the thumbs up? And if you're over on the Rumble, can we get the thumbs up? Share the links with others. A world-renowned oncologist and one of the architects of Obamacare will refuse any medication in 10 years. Again, architects of Obamacare. Obamacare brought in the idea of limiting what you could get, right? Oh, we're going to give health care to everybody. That's the problem with state-run health care. They decide what you get and when you get it. And then if you don't want to do the things they want you to do, you don't get it anymore. You're labeled a pariah. Oh, that could never happen, Jason. Oh, it happened. And meanwhile, this guy here, he says, Emanuel, who served on the Obama and Biden administrations, says there is also a lack of dignity when aging past 75. Tell that to Stallone. I mean, sure, Stallone's on the sauce, but he's exercising, he's styling, he's profiling. Okay? And he's in great shape. They don't want you to know these things. They're like, you know what? At 75, cut it off. We had expectations to live past 100 and healthy, and guys like the Kush are telling you they could live forever. This guy's telling you, die. Die. How about you die? Right? When Bill Gates talks about death panels, again, Obamacare, death panels, euthanasia is a great choice for you. Right? And when you look at the thumbnail I did, that's a real suicide pod next to him. Yeah, it doesn't have the water droplets on it. But you know what? You had the suicide machines in Futurama. Great meme put out there by TruthStream Media that I saw and I retweeted. That's real. They want more euthanasia. And this woman who's just so proud of herself, okay? It's the most rewarding work we've ever done. Canadian doctor who's euthanized 400 people proudly shares how she helped kill a man deemed incapable of choosing assisted suicide. And as another physician says, he's helped 300 people die. Okay? A Canadian doctor who's personally euthanized more than 400 people said she helped kill a man who was previously deemed unsuitable for assisted suicide. Just, these are the best people ever. Ellen Weeb, a doctor who works with Dying with Dignity Canada, boasted in a seminar for physicians working in assisted suicide about the time she treated a patient who did not qualify for the end-of-life service. A medical assistant in dying assessor had rejected the unnamed man because he did not have a serious illness or the capacity to make informed decisions about his own personal health. But the man eventually made his way to Weeb, who cleared him, flew him out to Vancouver, and euthanized him. It's the most rewarding work we've ever done. I mean, Stephanie Green, a colleague of Webb, also revealed that she's helped 300 people die in Canada's controversial MAID program, which eclipses similar programs here in the United States. It's a movement. They want you dead. And the way the people at the top think about it is, if you're dumb enough to go along with it, right? If you're dumb enough to go along with their hate and lies, you deserve it. They're social Darwinists. I do want to thank the folks over at Rockfin that have been tipping T-Can and Tina Hagen. Couldn't do it without you. Really do appreciate that support. Hope that you are enjoying the Making Sense of the Madness bits. I'll be doing my segment on Making Sense of the Madness, although it's only a 30-minute segment, and I'm not the host. Later today, I think they put that out either today or tomorrow. Not quite sure what we're going to be discussing yet, but looking forward to that, because there's another outlet that allows me to say whatever I want. Isn't that nice when you can say whatever you want, right? I had somebody in the chat on Rockfin, I guess he was gone for a while, saw the Red Voice Media. Really, Jason? Red Voice Media, really? Yeah. An outlet that allows me to express myself any way I want, cover any story I want. Yeah. Yeah, and then actually financially support me. Thank you. That's why it's so big when you guys come over to redvoicemedia.com/uncensored or /Jason, and you spend the $10 a month, or you've plunked down the 100 beans for the year, because that ensures that this show is going to keep going. And how many people are really covering this stuff? I'm sure, somewhere you'll hear a blurb about the Cosby thing, but who's going to go in depth like that? Okay? And yeah, Infowars.com will cover the euthanasia stuff, and Alex Jones is able to reach a certain amount of people, but hopefully there's a different dimension and element here that we can talk about. And, we can illustrate right on the screen in real time this movement of death and darkness. And the movement of command and control they really want to get the rest of us under. Because what we're really going to be talking about in the next hour when we go over, I want to play the Massey videos, tons of videos. You're really going to want to come over. You're at least going to want to go listen to it over at the infowarrior.podbean.com. Okay, I can assure you of that. But Rand, brain-computer interfaces, the Internet of Bodies. I've played the Internet of Bodies clip many a time here. There's a new clip out that I had not seen, and actually an article. Let's see if we can find that right over here. We'll also be going over this lovely, why we still need cryptocurrency for an Internet of Value. That's the track trace database system being integrated into the financial system for your social credit score and then your carbon credit score, right? To integrate all that. And then on top of it, layer the good old tasty Internet of Bodies. And Mary Lee here, this is the kind of like the face of Rand's Internet of Bodies. Okay. This is an article that's over at the National Press Foundation. Beyond smartwatches and pacemakers, new devices collect biometric data with patchy regulation. Voice of reason, right? This is the voice of reason here. And even maybe we'll show that video. We have shown it before, but I want to show the new video first on the Internet of Bodies. And then maybe we'll do the Rand Corporation thing, because you got to understand Rand is also actively involved in utilizing this for warfare and U.S. military applications. And they're telling you in this that they're going to have injectables where they can remotely control soldiers, and programs where they have injectables that stop soldiers from shooting to miss. In other words, having a human element, and also helping them find out who might be terrorists or terrorist sympathizers from within. So when Rand warns you about this, they're writing white papers how it's going to be exploited. They're also talking about swarm drones, being used not by internal brain-computer interfaces, but wearables. We've talked about that. So let's jump back over to this Internet of Bodies clip, our connected future right here. All right, so there's our connected future. We got artificial pancreas, the brain interfaces, implantable stents, electronic health records, sensor-equipped wearable prosthetics, seizure monitors, body implanted sensors, and basically, you look at this, and these are slides, but implantable microchips store information, open doors, or pay for goods. They're telling you. And meanwhile, they mocked people who dared say that this was an agenda, and then they put out the false story. There were people saying, oh, the hate and lie shots have them in them, right? And they made a big joke about it, and Gates himself joked about it. Funny, funny, ha-ha. Ha-ha, funny, funny. Look at that one. I want to get that one back. Mental and emotional sensors. Assess mental and emotional states through facial expressions and voice intonation. So in other words, the magic device here, it's going to hear how you emote. And then if you're sitting in a place with a webcam or a smart TV with a camera or really anywhere, it's going to integrate with your face. It's going to let them know how you feel. And you don't even have an implantable or a wearable on. There's the wearable health trackers, wearable neuro devices, right? They got the nice Photoshop right here. Is that the end of it? Nope. Here's the benefits and risks. Better management of health. Cybersecurity is a risk. No kidding. See, they're always going to, you notice how there's more already benefits behind us here? Improved efficiency, improved performance, assistance with people with disabilities. Oh, cybersecurity, data privacy, sensitive data collection, possession, or dissemination of. Yeah, that could never be corrupted. Never something we're working about. Convenience. Bodily dependence on devices for health functional purposes. Yeah, that is a big risk. That is. Coercion to accept devices. That is a big risk. And like I said, this woman, even in this other piece that we've played before here, she breaks it down. It looks like we're just going to do this piece. And then on the other side, you can watch that piece and so many more. You're going to watch Thomas Massey talk about ending all the mandates. You're going to see Neil deGrasse Tyson shill for the Defense Department, whether he's aware of it or not. I really wish somebody would call him out on what I would call him out on. DARPA, Glenn Beck, okay, implantables, more of the Internet of Body stuff. This is what we talk about here. We talk about the very real technology that's out there, the push to get you to accept this technology. All right, the people behind it. In fact, it's another thing we want to get into. We haven't done. We want to get into the list of those that are going to be attending Davos. And by the way, this is on Rand's own website. This video right here. I want to reiterate that. Somebody didn't just slap it together. It's on Rand's own YouTube page. It's basically a glorified PowerPoint presentation. Here's where they break down a lot of the slides. It's right here. Isn't that great? Body implanted sensors, tissue integrated biosensors under development may provide more precise and expansive biotracking than traditional wearables. Okay, we're going to show you some of those implantable sensors and much more on the other side. This is where I am going to cue the guys to bring us into the premium portion of the broadcast. All right. So let's go over to premium as I say goodbye to a bunch of you here. Let's start with, let's see if we can get there. Rockfin, thank you so much for keeping it real. Again, a bunch of exclusive stuff over on Rockfin as well, so at least follow me there for free. You can also check out the premium stuff if you are a premium member. A lot of stuff over at Rockfin you won't see on YouTube or even Rumble, guys. YouTube, you know the drill. You get the first hour, and if you want to listen to the rest, come on over to the infowarrior.podbean.com or sign up for only $10 a month. 10 beans a month. You get me, you get a bunch of others. Redvoicemedia.com/uncensored or /Jason